it's Sophie, and today I bring you my first video from 2016, which is going to be my December wrap-up. Now, this was a great month. I read a lot of books and I even took part in my first readathon, which was held by 3 South American booktubers, and it was a lot of fun. A bit stressful because we had to read 7 books in a week, so 1 book a day, but it was a lot of fun. And thanks to this readathon, I managed to read some books that I had been putting off for a long time, so yay! Anyway, on to the books. The first book I read is a children's book, and it's called A Bear Called Paddington by Michael Bond. Now, this book is a bit special to me because, well, I'm living in Peru right now, and when the movie came out, the Paddington movie, Peru was one of the countries that had the least viewers, which is really ironic because, well, Michael wrote Paddington as being from Peru. So when they found out about this, they were like, no, we can't have this. We have to promote Paddington in Peru. So because of his health, Michael Bond couldn't come, but his daughter came, Karen, and she gave us this book. She even signed it, even though she's not the author, but I asked her to sign it, and she did. So it's very special to me because of that. And well, it follows, this is the first book he wrote, and it follows Paddington, just a bit how he got from Peru to London and a few of the things he did. Now, the first book is like a set of one-shots that Michael wrote just to have fun, and based on a teddy bear that he had bought his wife for Christmas, and just he wrote it to have fun, and it became one of the most famous children's books in Britain and also in most of the world. The second book I read is called The Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind. This is the first book in the series, The Sword of Truth. As far as I know, there are 12 or 13 books up to now. I'm not sure if it's continuing, but I read this book in response to a challenge, which was to read a book recommended to you by a friend. And a very good friend of mine recommended this book to me. Now, this book follows Richard and Callan, who are from different realms. One of them belongs to a place with no magic, the other one with a place with a lot of magic, and basically they have to join forces to defeat the baddie of the book, who wants to conquer all and kill everyone. It's very interesting. It has a lot of fantasy. It's got dragons, wizards, epic magic, and it's really fun to see how different points of view kind of collide. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Now, the next 7 books I read in response to this readathon, it was held by 3 South American booktubers. So in Spanish it's called Los Juegos de Booktube, in English called the Booktube Games, inspired on the Hunger Games. Basically, we had to read 7 books in 1 week, so 1 book a day, and there were also video challenges. I took part in 2 challenges. One was to build a Christmas tree out of books, and the other one was to get a literary tattoo. Not a real one, you know, with markers, not like go out and get a real one. Anyway, to make it a bit more interesting, they gave us certain categories to read if we wanted to. We were free to read whatever we wanted, but if we wanted to challenge ourselves, we could read these categories. So the first challenge was a retelling, and for this I chose Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Reed. This book takes part in the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. There are 4 books, this is the first one, and it follows Simorine, who is a princess, but she's not your typical princess. Now, this whole world has a lot of classical fairy tale foundations. The princesses, they have to be rescued by knights, or they have to be cursed and rescued, or kidnapped and rescued, or put under a spell and rescued. And Simorine wants no part in that. She thinks it's boring. She doesn't want to take any manner classes or what words to say when your prince saves you. She doesn't care about that. She's kind of a badass princess. She learned magic, a bit of magic behind her parents' back, a bit of fencing. So she's really like the black sheep of the princesses. Fed up with all the princesses and things that she had to do, and they wanted her to get married, she runs away and goes to work for this dragon castle. The book tells about her adventures there. She has to stop the baddies, who I won't tell you who they are, but it's really entertaining, and they have a lot of fairy tale references. I even kind of put post-it on them because they're really funny, and it's just a great series to read. The second book I read, it doesn't fall under any challenge. It was like a free slot, and it's the second book of dealing with dragons, called Searching for Dragons. And this is book number 2. And it follows Marine. Also, there's a few new characters, and well, it follows the same premise, but I won't tell you what it is. The third book I read fell under the challenge of reading a book with a sky on the cover. And for that I chose Los Últimos de la Tierra by Marlene Kay, which is, I think, The Vanishing in English, I'm not really sure. It follows these high schoolers who were having class in the basement because there weren't any other classrooms left. And well, when they leave class, they find that there's just nobody anywhere. They can't find their parents, their family. They can't see people on the news stations. There's just nobody anywhere, and they're the last people on Earth. And the interesting thing is that it's kind of like a Lord of the Flies kind of book. You know, all the children start getting like a bit of, they start feeling powerful, or like they want to control the rest of the students. So it's really fun. This is a trilogy, but I only ever read the first book. I have not been able to find the other 2 books, but I really like this. It's very interesting. The fourth book fell under the challenge of reading a book by an author you've never read before, and for this I chose Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. The story follows Anna, who is from Atlanta. She has a good life, kind of a boyfriend, her best friends. She's doing really good, and then her father decides to send her to boarding school in France. She's not happy about this, but when she gets there, she also meets new people, new friends, and also she meets Etienne, who unfortunately has a girlfriend. But, well, you know how it is with romance stories. I really liked the book. It had a lot of humor. I really liked the writing style. There's a few things I didn't like, but I won't talk about them in this video. But in general, I really enjoyed it. It was a really enjoyable read. The fifth book I read fell under the challenge of read the last book you bought, and that was Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This is a historical fiction novel taking place in the Second World War, and it follows Lena, who is from Lithuania, and she is taken by force by the Soviet secret police, and she's sent to a prisoner camp which is in Siberia. The story follows her journey from Lithuania to Siberia, and it talks about all the atrocities that happened. It also gives you a lot of background behind what happened in Lithuania, because it's not something we generally see in movies or read about in books. I didn't know a lot about what happened in Lithuania, and well, it's a good book to get into that part of history. The sixth book I read fell under the challenge of reading a book with a controversial subject. For this I chose 1984 by George Orwell. The book is about this society, the dystopian society which controls everyone. It's kind of talking about like Big Brother and how they hear and see everything. That was sort of the controversial subject, you know, extreme surveillance. And well, it was a bit difficult to read for me. There were some parts where I just had to really fight to get through. It's not one of my favorite books, but it was an interesting read. And the last book for this challenge, and the last book in December that I read, fell under the read a book, a horror book challenge, and for this I chose World War Z. I've had this book for a long time and I've never read it. It was just sitting there pretty on my bookshelves, and finally I got to read it. Unfortunately, I didn't read this in the challenge. This was the only book that I didn't manage to read, but I did finish it in December and I really liked it. It was really interesting, a very different perspective. Basically, it talks about this zombie invasion, but it's talking about it after it finished, like when humankind is recuperating, and you just learn what happened, how it started, by reading the interviews, the testimonies of witnesses, of survivors, and I thought it was a really good telling of a zombie apocalypse. I really enjoyed it. Okay, well, those were all the books I read in December. It was a really fun month, a bit stressing with the readathon, but I really enjoyed it, and like I mentioned before, I got to read a few books that I had just been putting off and off and off. So I feel really accomplished with that. Hopefully soon I'll be posting another video, but keep your fingers crossed just in case.